Happy craft afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stampin' Chat Live. Today's video is a premiere video, so Tom and I pre-recorded this in our studio, but we're in the chat with you today, answering questions and saying hello, so make sure you say hi to us in the chat, and it is great to see all of you coming in from all around the world. Today we're going to have a lot of fun because we're going to be using the brand new Sunny Days card kit, and we're going to be doing a little bit of Poly-Glaze foiling. Now, I do want to preface this to say you can make this exact same card with no foiling at all. All you have to do is stamp the images that come in the kit. But a lot of you were very excited that we did Poly-Glaze to coordinate with the kit this time, and I want to show you how to use that if you picked some of that up on release party night. But before we get started, let's say hello to Tom. Hey, Tom.
Happy craft afternoon, everybody.
How are you?
I'm feeling very live in the dead space today.
It is a little bit different without our chatters being able to pop in right now while we're making this, right?
Yeah, it is. It's fun, though. It's a different kind of spin on what we usually do. So yeah, we should be chatting away by now, don't you think?
Absolutely. But I'm sure we are in the comments right now. We're chatting away with everybody.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yes, so, all right. Well, do you have a word of the day today for the premiere?
I do.
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, we'll get to that in just a little bit. But why don't we get started right away? Now, if you joined us on release party night on Tuesday night, you saw our brand new Sunny Days card kit. And I have a couple of the components right here. So here is the Delicate Flowers. Let's zoom out a little bit. I was zoomed in too close. The Delicate Flowers card kit, Stampin' Die bundle. And I am going to be using a whole bunch of these images today along with some of the greetings. Now, I'm going to pick one greeting. Now, if you want to make this card, the same exact card, without any foiling at all, you would just stamp the images that I am going to cut out of Poly-Glaze sheets, and you're going to get the same exact card layout, the same look, without the shine. Now, I'm going to be using this big floral image, both of these leaf images, this kind of flowery curved sprig here, and then this leafy sprig. And then I am going to pick one of these greetings, and I'll figure that out when I actually show you the Poly-Glaze. But I love the greetings in here. They're so awesome, especially never doubt your worth. I think that's a great greeting to send to somebody who's going through some struggles. All right, and then I am going to be using the layering stencils that also come in the Sunny Days kit. These coordinate beautifully with the stamp set and also with the Poly-Glaze. Then I'm going to be using the add-on Poly-Glaze sheets. Now, these are for purchase separately. We didn't want to put something in the kit that not everybody is into, and not everybody has the ability to foil. But if you want to foil, just pick up a pack or two of these and you will be on your way. Now, this is the Delicate Flowers. It's got 3 sheets in here. So I have them here and I want to show you what they look like. Boy, these are big sheets. Let me zoom out again. All right, so we've got this one that gives you 4 big flowers and a total of 8 leaves. So this will get you 4 cards if you wanted to use a flower and a set of leaves on each card. Then this one has 4 of these curved floral sprigs and then these leafy elements, so you would get 4 of those. So if you wanted to make this card in full, you would be able to make it 4 times with this pack of Poly-Glaze. Then we have lots of greetings on the sheet, because greetings are one of those things where even if you don't want to do a full foiled card, you may want to add a little sparkle and shine just in the greeting. So we gave you 4 of every greeting except the one that says handmade by, because that's really meant to be stamped on the back of your card. So we gave you everything else in this set in the Poly-Glaze. Now, let's go ahead and cut out some of these Poly-Glaze designs. So when you're going to foil, I recommend that you cut these out ahead of time. You don't have to cut them on your die cutting machine ahead of time if you don't want to, but you just cut them off of the Poly-Glaze sheet. This way you're not, let me do this one here because it's right up against that other one, and it'll store a little easier. Sometimes some people like to get these and die cut them all out and have them ready to go. You certainly can do that if you want to, but I'm just going to cut these out, just the ones that I want today. So I'm going to cut that. And remember, these are the exact same size as the stamps. So you can cut them all out using the coordinating dies, which is super fun. All right, help me pick a greeting here. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I need another leaf too. So these are leaves that go in two different directions. You see how this one goes in this direction? I know it's gray, so it's a little hard to see. But I'm going to take one that goes in the other direction too. Now, for greetings, the sample that I showed you on release night, and that I'm going to show you again today, I used Beautiful Friend. But I think I'll use birthday greetings for this one, because I think that I can always use a birthday card. So I will use one of those. All right, so now I have all of my things ready for Poly-Glaze. Now I'm going to get my carrier sheet. Now if you don't have this carrier sheet, you can certainly use the carrier sheets from ThermoWeb, the parchment ones. We also do have extras of these on our website. And then I've got a Swiffer duster here, and that's going to help me get all the dust off of my designs and off of my foil so I get good adhesion. And then I'm going to be using the Fuse foiling system. If you don't have this and you have a mink, that will work great. You can also use this with a regular laminator, but if you use a laminator, make sure you let it heat up a good 20 to 30 minutes first to get it nice and hot. Now I'm going to be using our 14 karat foil here. So I've got some of that, and I have a bunch of pre-cut ones here because anytime I cut anything off the end, I save it. Here's kind of a skinny one. I'll use that too. But let's start out with just maybe one or two of these. You can do these all at once if you want, or you can do just a couple at a time. I think I'll do just a couple at a time, just to make sure they don't move around. So I'm going to do the two leaves here, and you can see I did the Swiffer duster on top. And then I'm going to trim this down to fit these two. Now, if you really want to conserve foil, you certainly can die cut them first, which works really nicely, and then you need a lot less foil. But because I'm spreading these out a little bit, I am going to need a little bit more foil. So I'm going to put these in here, and then I'm going to dust the back of my foil to make sure that I've got all the dust off of there. Anywhere that there's dust, the foil will not be able to stick to the Poly-Glaze. And you should do that if you're using toner sheets too, which are the black sheets that are similar to the Poly-Glaze. All right, so I'm going to run that through, and always make sure that your carrier sheet is folded side in so it doesn't get wrapped around the rollers. And then once the fuse grabs this, let's see here. There we go. Once it grabs it, you can just let go. Now, while that's going through, I'm going to cut a few more pieces of foil here. I love this 14 karat foil for this. This kind of gives you the same look as some of those Better Press dies, those, you know, the Better Press plates. Something about the gold makes me feel like it looks just like that. Let's do one for this. I think I could use this little tiny piece for my greeting. And then I still need one for my flower. So I am cutting these a little bit bigger, but again, if you want to, you know, really make sure you save every little speck of foil, then go ahead and die cut them first. It doesn't really matter what order you do it in, though. The only thing that really matters is if you're using the white Poly-Glaze or you're using toner paper, that you die cut after you've sent your toner paper or your white Poly-Glaze sheets in, because this already came off, because dies do put little dents in things, and you don't want to dent your stuff before you run the foil through. So you can see that is all foiled beautifully. This one as well, beautiful. So I'll put those aside. Now let's get the rest of them in here. We're going to once again wipe that down and wipe that foil down. I think I'll do this one by itself, just to be on the safe side. It's kind of a big design. And then what we're going to do is we are going to die cut these, and we're going to color them using the coordinating stencil. Now, I like using big blending brushes, but I also like using small blending brushes. And if you didn't see on release party night, we did come out with our own brush holder that I think is just perfect for these detail blending brushes. You can put so many of them in there. Now, it will hold regular brushes as well. So if you wanted to put the small brushes in there, you can. If you wanted to put the larger brushes in there, you certainly can do that as well. So you can get everything in there with no problem. It also holds tools, so you can put your pick and stick tool in there, and it'll hold that. You can put your tweezers, your reverse tweezers in there. There's all kinds of small little areas to hold everything. So this is a nice little toolbar to sit in front of your work area. And I really am enjoying this one. I do like our other brush holder too, and our little, the little Lazy Susan that it goes on, the carousel. But these are really fun for the small brushes because the small brushes really don't have a spot in that. Okay, so now we've got this. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that beautiful? Love that. I know that's very shiny. All right, we just have a couple more things to do. So let's do this design. Again, making sure that we always use a Swiffer duster. We can put probably 2 of these in here. I think we'll be able to fit this one into. Get that. And then all the dust. And we should be able, I don't know. I don't know if that'll fit. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this by itself. I'm worried about it. I'll do the other one with the greeting. All right. And then for colors today, I thought I would do some blues. So I picked a couple of colors here. I picked Sea Glass, Turquoise Sea, and Tranquil Teal. And then for my greens, I decided to do a combination of Lucky Clover and Christmas Pine. I am really digging these 2 colors together, and you're going to see how pretty they look when you do them together. Kind of an unexpected combination, but I feel like they're in that same vein of green, so it really seems to work. All right, so I'm going to put this aside, and then we're going to get these last ones in. This one was already dusted. And then we'll do the greeting. So we're doing the birthday one. I did see some dust on there too, so I'm glad I got rid of that. I don't need this little piece. I think that'll make more room. And then we'll pop that in there, and we'll send all of that through. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, isn't that pretty? It's perfect. Every time. So you can see I have my fuse set on 3. Some people prefer to use the setting 4, and if you prefer that, that is just fine. The thing that I am finding with setting 4 is sometimes you get over foiling, so you get some speckles on your paper. So if that's happening to you, try cutting the heat back to 3 and see if you have a little bit better luck. But again, it's totally up to you. You can use either 3 or 4. 3 seems to give me just what I need and nothing more. All right. So here's the greeting, birthday greetings. How cute is that? And then here's that beautiful flower. All right, so I'm going to turn off my fuse because now it's time for us to do some ink blending. Let me get this out of the way. So we can either die cut these first or we can ink blend them first. Why don't we ink blend them first? Because I think it'll be a little bit easy. Well, no, let's die cut them first. I'm going to die cut them first. And the reason I'm going to die cut them first is because when I stick them down onto my piece of paper, they're going to have a little bit of tape on them, and I don't want to get that all over my die cutting machine. So let's start by die cutting first. Now what you want to do here, this is the only one that's a little tricky to line up. So what I have found is, you see this one petal down here. Let me zoom in a little bit on this. This one petal down here just kind of sticks out further than the rest. I think this little part right here on the die goes right there. Is that right? No, that is not right. Now let's see. How did I do? Oh, here it is. This one right here. So this one is the longest one. You can see that sticks out the absolute longest out of all of them. So if you can match those two up, then it's pretty easy to line up. Now, whenever I work with foil, I do like to die cut, but I'm a little bit more careful about putting tape onto the foil because I don't want it to pull up the foil at all. So I tend to put my masking magic on the die and on the outside of the cardstock. This way it doesn't pull any foil up. It usually won't anyway, but you know, you never know, and we don't want to ruin it. So I'm going to send that through. And yes, you can do more than one at a time, if anybody's asking that. But there we go. So you can see that's cut out so pretty in there. Now, if you don't have any mojo and you're not sure what to do, one of the things that you could do is take your Poly-Glaze designs and just cut them all out. You know, get them all ready. Put them in a little box and they will be ready to foil when you are. So that's one thing that you could do, and then that makes these kinds of cards go a lot faster. I'm just pulling out all the dies here that I need. And then the birthday greetings. That's the only one. I saw somebody do something really interesting. They did a piece of cardstock, like thin cardstock, and they stamped the words, and then they taped it onto the magnet and put the magnet that corresponds to the word over it. And they used a thin enough cardstock that it didn't block the magnetic board from grabbing the die, and then it made it a lot easier to find. So that might be something you might want to do. I should probably do that. Okay. So again, I'm going to line these up. I'll do a couple of them at a time here. This just takes a couple minutes. All right. You know, it's with die cutting, it's always that measure twice, cut once kind of thing. You just don't want to mess it up, especially after you've got all this beautiful foil on there, right? But it is kind of fun to have dies that coordinate with your foiled images, because they're so pretty to begin with, and then when you can cut them out and create beautiful bouquets with them, it's so cool. All right, I'll cut these two out. We just have a couple more to cut, and we'll be ready to start ink blending. So Tom, how do you like this new, this kind of newer idea of Poly-Glaze with the foil? Isn't that pretty? Isn't that kind of fun?
It gets very sophisticated.
Yeah.
You know, just
so,
adding another kind of layer to the card in a way.
It definitely does. A little bit of sparkle and shine. And I like the idea that we also have a full stamp set, because, you know, some of the greetings in here, like with love and prayers, things like that, might be a little bit somber, you know, more somber. Maybe you don't want foil for those, although it's so delicate that it really isn't like a smack in the face. But if you wanted it to be a little bit more somber, you could just use your stamps for that. And I love that you have all these options. So it's not just foil, because this is such a nice stamp set, and the greetings are so useful for so many cards that it's good to have them in both. Maybe you want to just emboss them with some embossing powder, instead. So, all right, we'll finish up these two and then we'll get that last one. Sorry if I'm a little off the screen here for the die cutting part, but I think most of you by now know what it looks like when I'm lining up a die. There we go. There's that one. I'm putting all my dies over here in a corner so that I don't throw anything away. Now, we've done this kind of thing before, but I feel like it's been a while since we've had all of this coordinating poly-glaze stamp die, and we've never done it with stencils, so I think that makes it extra fun. Now, what in tarnation did I do? Oh, here it is. Tarnation. How do you like that word? I must have been watching my hillbilly ghost show. I watched this show called Mountain Monsters. It's not on anymore, but it used to be on. And these guys they're my favorite. They're so fun and so funny, but they say things like that. What in tarnation? And then I watch that and I walk around talking like that for a couple days. Okay. Last one, and now we can start doing our ink blending. Super easy to cut out, and look how beautiful that is. You can even trim these down a little bit if you want to. Like you could, trim it down and use these pieces in more than one spot, which I might actually do for this card. We'll see. I think I did that in the other card too, and I love the layout, so let's mimic that. Alrighty.
I bet at least one of our viewers knows what tarnation is.
I don't know what it is. Do you know what it is?
I don't know what tarnation is.
We'll have to Google it. I hope it's nothing really bad. I don't think it is. Okay, so now we're going to do some ink blending. So let's start with the flower, because that, once again, is going to be the most confusing one to try to put down. So what I like to do is look at the picture on the front here and line it up to where that picture is. Can you see we've got that long petal right here? And that's how it is in the picture. So that's the way that the stencil was designed too. So that's going to make it a little easier to line up this layering stencil. Pretty close anyway. See, that makes it very easy. And you could tell right away when it snaps into place that you're on the right spot of the stencil. It doesn't literally snap into place, but you kind of see everything else disappear around it. So I think that is the way right there. See how all the gold and everything just disappeared, and you know you're in the right spot. Okay, so to be safe, you saw I put a little bit of tape down. You can also use a stencil mat if you prefer. And now I'm going to use a little bit of the Thermoweb Pixie tape to hold the stencil down. And then I'm going to start with a bigger blending brush. So I'm going to use our largest blending brush, which is really good for large surfaces. I'm going to start with that and our sea glass ink. I just want to wipe off anything that's on there so I can get a nice light blend. Now with a light hand, I'm going to add this color. Just kind of go along in a circular motion around the outside and work my way a little bit toward the inside. And then I'm going to go in the opposite direction. Now I want to add some deeper color in here. This is actually layer 2. It doesn't matter which layer you start with, because really these are just, they're all petals. You know what I mean? Like they're all the same. So doing it in 2 stencils, you could do a 2-tone flower, but I'm not doing that. I definitely want to just bring in a darker shade on layer 2. So let me find my small blending brush. Do I have a small blending brush here with turquoise? I should. If I don't, let me see if I can just use this purple one and rub off the purple. I don't know what happened to that one. Okay, so this is my Turquoise Sea. Now I'm going to go over this area and just bring it out a little further than I'm going to on my layer 1. And again, it doesn't really matter which way you do this. Okay. And then I'm going to go in with some Tranquil Teal. Get some Tranquil Teal on my detail brush. And I'm going to just kind of go in real close to the center and bring some of that in. And see, with these brushes, you can get right in there. I like kind of this scrubby motion where you're bringing it in from the inside and working your way toward the outside. It's almost like you're pushing that color up on those petals. Okay, so that's my first layer. It's actually my second layer, but it doesn't matter. But can you see how pretty that is? Oh, that's so pretty. Alrighty, now we're gonna wipe that. But when I wipe it, I don't wanna like rub all over it. I just wanna tap it, tap the color off so that it doesn't get too much mess over my other petals. That's okay, that little bit. That'll be fine. Now we're going to do the same thing with this one. We got to find where it locks in. There it is. And you'll just see it. You'll be like, I found it. You'll know. And we're going to go again with the sea glass on this. So this is my lightest color again. So pretty. And then we're going to go again with Turquoise Sea and Tranquil Teal. So I've got my sea glass around the outside. Turquoise Sea is next. That's the medium color. And then we'll do that more toward the inside here. About halfway up the petal. And then we'll add that Tranquil Teal with the detail brush. So even though you don't have all different layers for these, you can create that look just by adding 3 different colors of ink. That's my bracelet making that noise. Go up a little higher because I don't want it to look too like that it stops somewhere. Okay. So now I'm going to take that off, and you can see, look at that. Isn't that so pretty? Now you can, like I said, you could do this in a 2-color mix if you want, where maybe you use a completely different blue, or maybe you use like an orange and a red, but that is so pretty. And I love how you can get darkness in these tiny petals separate from, you can see in here, how you've got light right here, and then next to it on the other layer you have dark, and it really makes these top petals pop out. All right, so we have that one done. I'm going to wiggle this off of my piece of cardstock here, just a little wiggle, and put that aside. And now let's color this one. So we'll go in the right order this time. Just going to put a little bit on the back to get it into place. And then we'll start with the flowers first. Layer 1 is the flowers. Now this one, I'm going to just go with sea glass, and then I am going to just wiggle in a little bit of Tranquil Teal onto that. And of course, you can always clean up your flower first if you want. But keep in mind that these are loose here, okay? So when you clean your stencil and it's loose like this, some people really like to use rubbing alcohol, which is nice because it dries really fast. But if you're, if you have sensitivities, you can always use water and the tidy towel. But if you take a little bit of rubbing alcohol, just rub toward the center. And what's nice about the rubbing alcohol is it evaporates almost instantly. And don't forget to do the back because some of that comes through on the back. But it evaporates almost instantly, so you don't have to worry about possibly laying that back down on the next flower and having it be wet. It dries so quickly. All right, so back to this. We're going to start with Turquoise Sea. I'm sorry, we're going to start with sea glass. So we'll give that a little... I love that little edge where it catches the edges. And of course, you can use the smaller brush if you prefer. We probably have a little Turquoise Sea on here that I could just add down here. And then whatever's left on my Tranquil Teal brush, I'm just going to come in right at the bottom here and add some of that color and just go up the side a little bit. Okay. And let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's beautiful. So these are so much easier than having to color with markers or colored pencils. Although you can do that if you love Copic markers or Olo markers, or you are a colored pencil and Gamsol person, you certainly can go in that direction. Especially because you have the stamps, so you can stamp these out as often as you want in color. But for those of you that struggle a little bit with coloring, but you love that shaded look, these are so easy to use. So now we're going to start with the greens. So I waited to do the greens until we were ready to do all the greens. So we're going to pop that into place. And then we're going to start with Lucky Clover. That's this one right here. And I'm going to use a bigger blending brush. Maybe not a giant one, but just maybe this size, because this is just our small blending brush. I'll get some Lucky Clover on there. I want to make sure I've got good coverage. All right, so I'm going to go up the center here, and I'm just going to let these bristles just hit the leaves so you can see like it's darkest at the base. And just like letting the bristles just rub over the rest of it. So I'm sticking mostly in the middle. Okay. Now I'm going to get a brush with a tiny bit of Christmas pine. You're not going to really see the magic of this until we get to those bigger leaves. But there's a little magic, and we're going to stay consistent. So I'm going to add a little Christmas pine in to the bottoms here.
So Gina, when you do this, is it easy to overdo like the colors where one just totally covers the other one?
Yeah, I mean, you want to always start with your lighter color first, Just do your lighter color first and then go to your darker color, and just a light hand, because otherwise you miss out on that shading. You know, look how light it is right here compared to how dark it is there. If I just went in real heavy right from the start, then, you know, you wouldn't get all of that beautiful shading. So there we go. There's our first little sprig of green. And I just keep using this this alcohol cloth because it's so easy to clean up. All right. So now back to the first layer. We're going to do this one next, and then we'll save those big green leaves for the end. And I'll show you how pretty they are when you really get that Christmas pine in there. So we'll start with layer 1. Now this just all, like, it gives you some leaves in one color and some leaves in the other color. So what you could do is you could go mostly Lucky Clover with a little bit of Christmas pine here, and then just do Christmas pine on the other layer to give you variation. You can also use like our spruces, and do light spruce on the first one and medium spruce on the second one with a little dark spruce kind of highlighting it. You can use jelly bean green and fresh asparagus together. There's so many combinations. You can also add some turquoise into your leaves if you want to jazz it up a little bit. So I have this laid down. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm starting more in the center and just a light mist toward the end of the leaves. See that? And don't forget, go in both directions just so you don't have too much white hanging out. You know, like I'm going in this direction and then I go back in the other direction. So clockwise and counterclockwise. But you don't have to fill everything up completely. You can leave that little bit of very light green toward the edge. And then, whatever's on this Christmas pine brush, I'm going to add a little bit in there of that, just around the bottoms. There's not much on that, but we'll get some real deep shading on the big leaves. Okay, and then I'm going to wipe that off before I take it off. Makes it a little easier. And then again, you want to just dab over it to get it off the foil, because foil isn't porous, so it will be sitting on there, but you can see how pretty that is. Now we're going to go to layer 2. Let me just clean this real quick. We're going to go to layer 2, and these are just a couple tiny leaves in here. Let's see, where do they go? There they go. And I'm just going to use the Christmas pine tiny brush just for a little contrast in color. And let's see what that looks like. That might have a little bit too much Lucky Clover on it. There we go. It's just a little bit of a bluer green.
Bluier?
Bluier. I've said that. It's a bluier color. Let's see how that looks. Just wipe that off. So that's kind of a pretty combination. You've got some very green leaves there and these ones that have a little bit more turquoise. If you wanted to accent that near the bottom, you could even use Tranquil Teal for that, and that would kind of pull into your flowers as well. But I think these two together look so pretty. All right, and then we just have to do these last two. Now, this one is a little trickier because I don't have a stencil for both directions. I only have a stencil for one direction. So what you have to do is you're going to stencil and then you're going to quick clean the stencil, and then you're going to flip it around to the other side, if that makes sense. Because you're going to be using the upside down part of the stencil to do the opposite one. These are the same exact size, they're just flipped. So you can see here for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to start with Lucky Clover. So I've got Lucky Clover on here. And we're going to bring that Lucky Clover up. Go very light as we get to the tip. But then we're going to go in with some Christmas pine. And we're going to bring that Christmas pine up like this. Can you see how that's just creating all of that beautiful shading in that pine? See how that looks? Oh, it's so beautiful. All right, so that's the first one. Let's clean that real well. Make sure it's not wet. And then we just did that. Now we're going to flip it over to the other side to do this one. So you don't really need a whole separate stencil. You just need to flip it and use it for the other side. So hopefully that makes sense. It will work the same way with the stamped images. Starting with the Lucky Clover. And you can see I'm immediately starting to lighten my pressure as I get toward the top. And then that Christmas pine, we're going to kind of bring it around the side here and up the side of the leaf and the other side of the leaf. And they don't have to look exactly the same. Each one can be a little bit different. I'm going to clean this stencil and we'll be done with this one. And now we're just going to do the same exact thing with stencil number 2, but we're going to use the smaller side of the stencil. So here we go. You'll see the little cutouts that kind of work their way in so you'll know you're on the right side. We'll start again. Lucky Clover, same way, heavy, and then getting lighter as we go. And then I'll go just a little bit in here. And then with the Christmas pine, just heavy around the one side and then coming up around the other side. It really adds that beautiful blue-green in there. Aren't they pretty? I love this. Now, I'm cleaning this again really well because I'm going to flip it and I don't want that to be touching my design. So now I flipped it over. Get it right into the spot. Tape it down because I have a tendency to move things around. And then same thing. And then we're all done and we can just start to lay out this card. So Tom, while I'm finishing this, do you happen to have a word of the day?
I do.
I know everybody's waiting. They're probably screaming it right now.
So today's word of the day is an angle word. We did one because angles are so important in the crafting world. We did one a few weeks ago, and it was about the being worried about having the angle right, and if you were really worried, you had anxiety.
Yeah, I remember that.
So this one is similar, and I recently had the job of scoring how many hundred of card bases?
Oh gosh, you actually scored over 1,000 card bases.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah.
You still feeling it?
Still feeling it. Yeah, and I learned the importance of the right angle in scoring card bases. I also learned the opposite wrong angle. Somebody in crafting must have coined the term right angle because I did a few wrong angles too. And depending on how bad that goes, your wrong angle can become a mangle.
Very good. I like that word of the day.
A mangle.
A mangle.
I did a few of those. Yeah.
Oh,
So, word of the day, back to the dead space.
very good. Love it. All right. Well, now I'm going to cut a Master Layouts 2 die, and I'm going to do the stitched one and the plain one in white and in black. I know, shocker, in black. If you're new to our channel here, well, welcome, first of all, if you're a first timer. Say hello if you're a first timer, because I'll actually be able to be reading the comments this time, and I would love to say hello. But if you are a first timer, you're going to find out very quickly that I put black on every single card I make. Well, not every single card, but if I don't put it on a card, I definitely get a lot of people asking me if I'm feeling okay. So, all right. So I'm going to cut this out using Master Layouts 2. Just crank that up a little bit, and we'll send this through. And then I have to find a black piece of cardstock. I'm sure I have one close by. But here's my white panel. It's got that nice little stitching around it. And then here's a black panel. Oh, we did have a bunch of black panels from laying around from my my little memory keeper that I did. But I don't know. This might already be cut. Oh, that's really close. All right, let's see. I'm going to tape it down. This is very close. So I'm going to tape it. See if I can get this panel out of that piece of cardstock. That's going to be tight. I don't think I can, actually. I might be able to. Let's see. Yeah, I could take a minute and get a bigger piece, but now I feel like this is the challenge of the day here to see if we can do it. Let's see what kind of thin layer we end up with, thin little frame. If it doesn't work, I'll find a bigger piece. Did it work? We'll know if there's a full rectangle left behind, and there is. Look at that. All right, we did it. So here's my white panel. And now I have to pick a color card base, and I feel like I want to use like either a green or a Tranquil Teal, something like that. But let's make the rest of the card first. We'll figure all that out. So I'm going to do a little stenciling on this. And I am going to use, our decorative double stencil. It's a good one for this kind of thing. It's got two different designs. It's got this kind of baskety weave design, and then it's got this really interesting design. So I'm going to add just a little bit of stenciling, like up in here and then down in here. So I'm going to do that using whatever is left on this Lucky Clover brush. All right, so we could also do this with gray, and that would look good, but I'm just going to hold it down here. I'm just going to add a little bit of that in here, like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing kind of down here in this corner, like that. And if you want, I mean, you could add a second pattern, like do a little bit up here, like that, and a little bit down here. Don't be afraid to mix your patterns. And that kind of fills it in nicely, and it just gives it a little haze of color. I like to call that my grounding my images, because if I'm not using a die like an oval or a circle to ground the images, I like to add a little stenciling. It just gives it a little interest, makes it a little more, I don't know, it kind of draws your eye more than to the flowers because there's something going on in the background lightly than if you just slap those flowers right onto this just piece of white cardstock. I hope that makes sense. And now we're going to layer these together. And then we'll pick a card-based color. I think we'll do one for this one to match the flowers more. So just by taking, I don't even know where my big flower went. Oh, here it is. Just putting these flowers here. I feel like a Tranquil Teal would be a nice color to work with these flowers. It kind of brings out some of the blues in the flowers. And since we have that green back here, I want it to be contrasting. So let me get my big paper cutter into the mix, and I'm going to cut that at 4 1/4 inches. Now I have 2. And then I'm going to find my score buddy. I did lose my little scoring tool, but I have the score. I think I put it in my score pal. So we're going to score that. This is 4 1/4 by 11. We're going to score it at the 5 1/2 inch mark. And this is going to be a top fold card. All right. Now, these do have a little bit of tape on the back of them. So now we're going to do a little layout. And I'm going to use some foam squares for my flower in the center. But let's zoom in a little bit and get all our pieces here that we're going to use. Get them all together. And then our little greeting. Make this a nice little birthday card. Okay, so let me find, these are my 1/4 inch foam squares and my 1/2 inch foam squares. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to trim this. I know it's scary, right? But I'm going to trim this right in here. Right about here. So I'm going to make that 2 separate pieces. And you can kind of get rid of that little part there. It's not the most attractive when it's just cut off, like you cut it off, you know, outside and you just see the stick. So I'm just kind of trimming that up a little bit to make it look a little smoother there. Now what I want to do, this is obviously going to be my main image of my card. So I'm going to have part of this going up here. And then I'm going to have some flowers coming up here. Lots of overlapping here too. Totally fine with the overlapping. And then this little one can kind of come out from the side here. This will be my big flower in the center. And then we'll have some greenery here and a little greenery up here, like that. Got to get it inside the card base if it's going to fit in the envelope. And then down here, we'll add that birthday greeting. So I love that layout. I think that's really pretty. I might move the whole thing up just a little bit. So I'm going to take all of these off again. And as I adhere them, I'm going to move this one up so that this big flower can be up just a little bit higher on the card. So let's start with this one in the corner. We know this one is going to be the corner. Now, if you lay something out like that and you're like, oh, I'm never going to remember it when I take everything away, just snap a picture of it on your smartphone or your tablet and then just open that up and follow along as as you're kind of laying out and being this floral designer here. You can see exactly what you did. I remember because I actually did this layout before. So this is a layout I like for this set. So we'll get this over here. We'll make that kind of up here on the card. Have it going off. Maybe I'll pull it down just a little bit. There we go. Okay, and then this one, We're going to have it just come up here a little bit. So don't worry about like overlapping. It's okay. You know, if you did a floral design with real flowers, they'd be overlapping all over the place. That's what they do. And we'll just put that right there. I like having that extra little greenery in there too. We'll see how that all comes together. And then I'm going to slide these under at the end. So I'm going to get my flower on there and make sure that I like where it is and that I have room for my greeting. So let's pop this one up with some foam squares. We'll just put a couple on the back here. I want to leave some room on the sides so that the leaves can slip under. Okay, and then we'll put that right up here, like that. Looks pretty good, right? Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay, so now we know we can slip this under here. I'm leaving my greeting in that area so I don't overlap it with anything. So we'll slip that here. And actually, you know what? This one, I actually could have used this little piece. I'm going to pull this off. I know it's scary, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to pull this. It's okay if anything tears under there, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to snip this off too, because you don't even see it. So why not use it somewhere else, right? So we got that up here. We'll put this back where it was. I know, that was scary. I'm sorry if I scared anybody.
You're like one of those doctors that just grabs things and pulls on them. And...
See what happens? I know, like when I had my ACL reconstruction and they were like pulling all over, I'm like, wait, don't break anything. And they're like, no, it's fine, it's fine. All right, we'll get that in there like that. But then this, we can use this down here to add a little greenery into that area right there. Isn't that going to be pretty coming out? So let's do that. We'll just add a little more tape there. We'll just bump it right under there so you don't even see the little, but that gives us more. Why not? More is more. More is better. Okay, and now I'm going to put this on using foam squares. I might need a tiny foam square, like a little tiny piece for over here. I just cut these foam squares in half. Where are my tweezers? Here they are. Let's do this. I feel like this is easier to maneuver. So just cut your foam squares in half and then you'll have like little tiny ones. But I need something for right there. So I'm going to really trim one. Really skinny. See how skinny that is? Slip that right in there. Okay. So now we're going to place this, and then we're going to do a couple of quick little embellishments, and I think this card is going to be done. So we'll get that birthday greetings right down here. That looks good. And then, since we've got gold, let's add more gold, because why not? So I'm going to add a gold gem in the center here, a big one. And then I'll put one here, one up here, and one over here, just to have my 3 around the greeting. I know that's 4, but I feel like the 1 in the flower doesn't even really count. So I want to do a big one up here. Get that in the right spot. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I need some tinies. Here's a tiny one. Put a tiny one down here. Another tiny one up here. Maybe a medium size, if I can find a medium size. This looks, yeah, that's medium. Let's see what that looks like right here. This way we've used all 3 sizes, and I think that that looks pretty good. Now, let's see it shimmer and shine. Here it is, look at that. Tell me that doesn't look kind of like Better Press plate, but so easy, right? And affordable. Love, love, love. All right, well, there's my finished card. Now I want to show you the pink one that I showed the other night, and that's why I knew the layout already. I used the carnations for this one. Same idea, right? Same green colors, but 2 different versions. You've got the teal, and then you've got the green with the pink. So what do you think there, Tom?
Spectacular.
All right, well, we promise that next Tuesday we will be back in the studio and we will give away an extra gift card because we know we can't really do that live because we're not live right now. But we want to thank you guys so much for joining us. If you're interested in any of the new release products, they are available in the What's New category on our website at ginakdesigns.com. And Tom and I will be back in the studio with another live video for you next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time, so we sure hope you'll join us then. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you all so very much. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.